My name is Alexander Schrier. I'm a visiting research fellow at the Institute for Advanced International Studies and also a student at the University of Pennsylvania. So prior to arriving, I honestly did not know that much about the region. I had done some research and I was prepared a little bit at Penn, but nothing could prepare me for what I saw and what I first and initially experienced in Uzbekistan. I would say only 10% maybe of Americans that I know about Central Asia, and we think it's a land that's not as integrated into the world. But when I first came here to see the construction projects, to see the different parts of Asia in general coinciding and combining in this region was really special. And another thing that I was able to see is the coexistence of people, from Russians to Central Asians themselves, to Chinese, to Koreans, and to see the values of Central Asia, which also I found very interesting. The emphasis on family and on faith and on pragmatism, and to see the people's regional outlook on the world highlighted the multipolarity that we live in, kind of opened my eyes for what the world is looking like in Central Asia. So I would say the most interesting facet of the multi-vector foreign policy, which essentially means the idea of balancing different countries and different great powers against each other, which Central Asian countries practice. The most interesting facet of this has been what we call, and what my researchers and I identify as, the fourth vector, which is a counterbalance against the three traditional vectors of multi-vector foreign policy: Russia, China, and the US. And the fourth vector, which consists of the Gulf Cooperation Council countries, Turkey, Azerbaijan, Iran, and India and Pakistan, we have noticed that the combination of these countries, of these emerging economies, have acted as a counterweight against the traditional three vectors and have not replaced them, but have offered Uzbekistan and Central Asia in general opportunity for diversification. And I have found that these new powers are highlighting also, again, the multipolarity of our world, which is very significant. So at Penn, I had been taught about traditional IR theory and concepts. I had taken classes on research methods, and I have learned about the three prisms of liberalism, realism, and constructivism. However, nothing could really prepare me for what I've seen here. Central Asia practices a very realist foreign policy in many ways. However, it's an adapted version of realism that only Central Asia really practices. And this can be seen in the multi-vector foreign policy. You cannot completely use one prism to fully understand the region. There's multiple layers. And Penn has prepared me through the international student body that I've been able to interact with and through my own academic endeavors. However, understanding the region here has been the greatest learning opportunity for me to understand Central Asian foreign policy. So the biggest challenge that we and my fellow researchers have identified for the multi-vector foreign policy has been evaluating the short-run costs of diversification with the long-run benefits. This is most prominent, and I've written a paper on this, in the green transition, where what we have studied and noticed through government interviews and through our own research of the relevant literature has been that Central Asian countries, especially Uzbekistan, to diversify its green energy transition, has looked at a ton of different investors, from Saudi Arabia to Germany to China. However, all of the technology and most of the technology that is coming from these investments is being supplied just by one power, and this is China. So to evaluate for Uzbekistan the challenges of diversifying technology, which goes in line with its desire for energy sovereignty, and also accessing cheap technology, which countries like China offer, this is a big challenge of how to weigh the trade-offs between energy sovereignty and diversification. And as far as the opportunities go, the biggest opportunity that I've learned from the multi-vector foreign policy is that the world is very big, and there are a lot of different actors that Uzbekistan can pursue to act as another counterweight or counterbalance that does not replace traditional powers, but that just acts as a point of diversification. And some of these powers actually include powers in Latin America, which I have been able to write about and was tasked with writing an article about Uzbekistan's relationship with Mexico and the prospects of furthering this relationship, because Uzbekistan and Mexico both share a lot of issues regarding energy, water, green transition, helping to alleviate poverty. And I highlight 3 areas in which they can work together, which is on the water crisis, on immigration management, and on digitalization. So even as far as the other side of the country, there are opportunities for Central Asian countries, especially Uzbekistan, to work together with new parts of the world. So going off of the previous note, the best way to enhance the foreign policy is through understanding the rest of the world, to understand countries not just in the West or in the East, but in the South, the global South as well, in the developing world, countries in Latin America, countries in Africa. These countries want to engage in the region. I was at the Global Youth Festival in Samarkand, actually in mid-June, and I talked with actually many young diplomats and young activists from Africa, and they described their desire to learn about Central Asia and to actually work with Central Asian countries. And Uzbekistan should have this similar desire to work with countries all over the world and gain these insights. The other recommendation that I see for Central Asia is to further regional integration, because you are more powerful together and you can attain these goals of energy security, of economic development by working together with regional partners. And I think that there's a lot of opportunities and actually a pretty bright future for this dynamic region. Yeah, so I would say my time here has been indescribable, but there has been several memorable experiences that I've had. I mean, on the first day, I actually was throwing around a football, an American football, and I was able to teach Uzbeks at UMETS, the University of World Economy and Diplomacy, how to play American football. A cultural exchange like this has just been really amazing. On the flip side, Uzbeks have taken me to 2 Uzbek weddings and taken me all over the country, and I've been able to have dinner at people's houses in Urgench, places as far as Urgench, Uzbekistan. So I'm just very grateful for the people-to-people exchange that I've been able to take part in, and these experiences are just so memorable and are very valuable.